Legends of the War here, and today we're doing another tier list using Tier Maker, this time covering the Warriors of Chaos Regiment of Renown, which will include the original Warriors of Chaos DLC, Regiment of Renown, and the new ones. Now the thing is, the way that they function in Warhammer 3 is vastly different to how they function in Warhammer 1 and 2, so I'll be covering all the ways that they sort of mix and match these Regiment of Renown, because the Warriors of Chaos aren't the only ones that get access to these ones. Now, before we get into the actual tier list, I do need to let you guys know that this video here is sponsored by Instant Gaming. Now, there are some great deals on Instant Gaming, and they're so competitive that even during a Steam sale, you might find a better deal on Total War Warhammer products on Instant Gaming that you will on Steam. So for example, you've got Blood for the Blood God, which I don't really support that DLC, but if you're looking to find it cheap, you can get it 24% off here, where it's currently not on sale on Steam. Which, by the way, if you buy it for Warhammer 1 or 2, you'll get it for Warhammer 3. So just keep that in mind. You've got things like, the Grim and the Grave over here, 60% off, whereas on Steam, it's 50% off. And if you happen to be watching this when there isn't a Steam sale, well then it's 60% off compared to no percent off. At the end of the day, I think it just gives you options on where to purchase to get the best price for you, and where you choose to purchase, that's entirely your choice. Anyway, that's that one there. And big thanks to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video, because it wouldn't be possible to do this without them. Okay, now, the actual tier list itself. Let's go into the custom battles here and have a look at some things, because it gets really sort of confusing and kind of messy, because no longer is it a case of Warriors of Chaos, Regiment of Renown, and only the Warriors of Chaos get it, because some of these Regiment of Renown, other factions can get. Now, if you're playing a campaign, for example, Archaon only gets these 10 Regiment of Renown, assuming you've got the other DLC, right? So we're just going to use this as the baseline for the tier list, because these are the standard Warriors of Chaos Regiment of Renown. But other factions can make use of them now, and I will sort of talk about them briefly, but try not to go into too much detail, because this could get very confusing otherwise. So for example, the Severed Claw, as an example, which is a cinch-aligned Warriors of Chaos unit, the Warriors of Chaos get access to it, but also, so does Kairos Fateweaver. Now, does Kairos Fateweaver's Regiment of Renown come over to the Warriors of Chaos? No, because the Warriors of Chaos don't get any demonic Regiment of Renown. But, actually, they do get one, because they've got the Knights of Immolation, right? But that's only for custom battle and multiplayer, right? But not for campaign. It's a little bit confusing. So you might see this one here and wonder why it's not on the list. It's because that is a cinch Regiment of Renown. If we ever do Cinch, then we'll cover it then. And it's not available to be recruited, at least in the undivided Warriors of Chaos. You know, maybe Village can get it, but I'm actually not 100% sure about that. But yeah, I'm only going to go with the ones that the undivided Warriors of Chaos can get, and then we'll just cover the other ones at another time. Because I swear, this is be the most confusing of them, because there's just so much interwoven stuff. Like even Khorne, for an example. We'll just go to Khorne real quick, right? So Khorne's got access to a Norscan Regiment of Renown here. That belongs to Norska. And a Beastman Regiment of Renown, right? And then they've also got access to the Knights of the Brazen Throne, which is a Warriors of Chaos one. But why don't the Warriors of Chaos get the Heralds of Khorne's Fury or the Hellforged Host? It's because those are demons, I guess. But some of the rules can feel a little bit arbitrary sometimes. Anyway, now that we got that sort of hopefully cleared up, let's get on to the actual tier list. The first one we'll go and compare is the Mirror Guard, which is considered a Chaos Warrior. So that is just a regular Chaos Warrior, and we will see the difference here. Oh, hang on. Oh, what am I doing? Right. Okay, so look, we can even mark them in custom battles here, but yeah, we'll just okay, this one here is considered a Slanesh one, right? It's got the mark of Slanesh, so maybe we should compare it as a Slanesh Warriors of Chaos. I think that's only fair, because that way they've got comparing like with like, right? So looking at stat differences, they are exactly the same in terms of stats. Physical resistance exactly the same. Both got the mark of Slanesh, but the Mirror Guard has Supreme Vanity, which if a unit or lord is within 35-meter radius of the Mirror Guard, they receive 10 extra melee defense. So I think that one is quite fitting for Sigvold. You have this one sort of as his bodyguard. They go in next to him, he gets extra 10 melee defense. How much better is that than the original? It's not that great, unless you're running like a hero stack. So I guess it varies depending on how many heroes you've got in the army. But based on that one stat alone, I'm just going to put that as slightly better than the original. But it can go up to far superior than the original, depending on how you really want to make use of it. Depends on the army. So next up, we'll go to the Demon Spew next, which is a Nurgle Forsaken unit. So this one here's got the mark of Nurgle. So we need to mark this one with Nurgle to compare like with like. Okay, so have a look at the stat differences. They are exactly the same. Okay, although this one here is considered damage dealer, where the other one isn't. Let's have a look at the breakdown of weapon strength. So 44 to 14 compared to... It's exactly the same. Sometimes things will say things up here just because somebody's typed it into a database, not because it's reflective of what's actually going on down here. The fact that this one here doesn't say damage dealer, but this one here does, is completely arbitrary. So what is the difference between the two? Basically, this one here just has Swarm of Flies, which in an area effect reduces the enemy melee attack by 5. Now, in a blob situation, this Swarm of Flies ability is actually really bloody good, but that's all it does. So I'm gonna say that that is a better ability than what the Mirror Guard does, because it affects all enemies. So I'm going to put that one as better than the original. So reducing enemy melee attack by 5 in an area, you know, if something's particularly dangerous, you know, it just doesn't hit as often, so that's quite good. Alright, then let's rate the Weird Spawn, which is a Cinch aligned Chaos Spawn. I gotta find it in here. Where is it? There it is. So we need a Chaos Spawn there, which we need that to be marked as Cinch. Okay, let's have a look here. Now, also, another thing to point out, why I don't comment on recruit costs is because this is only for custom battles. Typically speaking, the recruit cost will vary vastly on campaign, which is what these are supposed to be rated for. I know it can be a bit confusing rating them in custom battles, but actually for campaign, but that's because getting a campaign and getting all these units aligned, it's just a little bit more difficult. Especially considering there'll often be campaign bonuses, which we're not taking into consideration here. Okay, so let's have a look here with the difference. Both of them will have a barrier. Their stats are exactly the same. Alright, so this one here causes terror and has physical resistance 20%. They both have the mark of Cinch. Yep, that's about it. I can't really see any differences there. We can have a look at the weapon strength difference, but it's usually the same. 118 to 42. 118 to 42. Yep. Both do the Sundered Armor. Yep. So, how important is Terror? I don't usually value it that highly, just because I usually play on... Actually, I always play on very hard battle difficulty, and Terror doesn't really trigger unless the enemy is low on leadership. It definitely can be useful, but I don't value it that much. It's better than nothing, for sure. And it does make the unit immune to... Well, unbreakable units can't be terrified anyway. But really, the main value here is physical resistance plus 20%, which I do value quite highly. Typically speaking, I'm not a big fan of Chaos Spawn, regardless of what its alignment is. But that is definitely an improvement over the regular Spawn of Cinch. So, that is definitely going to get a... better than the original, because it's not going to help against magic weapons, but if you're going up against mortal armies, the Weird Spawn can be quite helpful. Alright, then we'll talk about the Summoners of Rage, which are also monsters. Now, these guys here are undivided. Dragon Ogres are undivided. They don't have any monogod affiliations. So, what's the difference here? Stats are the same, but we'll check to make sure that the weapon strength and armor piercing and bonus versus large is the same. So, 33, 77, 26. Then we got 33, 77, 26. It's the same. Alright, so what's the difference between them? Okay, so it basically comes down to Chain Lightning here. You get one use of a bound Chain Lightning in every battle that these guys get. I'm pretty sure you have to recharge it by engaging in melee, but since it's a melee unit, that makes sense. How good is Chain Lightning? It can be quite effective, so that's a pretty decent upgrade. So I'm gonna stick that one as better than the original. Nothing fantastic, but yeah, getting a free bound Chain Lightning that doesn't cost you Winds of Magic, it's not bad. Nothing particularly fantastic, just it's good. Okay, then okay, what were we doing next? We're covering Swords of Chaos. Right, so those are Undivided Chaos Knights, I think. Yeah, just regular Chaos Knights, not Lancers. Okay, so this one's a little bit different because it actually has smaller entity numbers, right? So we've got to keep that into consideration. Okay, it's Undivided. So let's have a look at the stat differences, right? We'll look at 24 compared to 60. So regular Chaos Knights actually have more health in total. They've got 1 extra melee defense, but these ones here they hit harder. Let's have a look at the damage breakdown. So 20 to 45 compared to 32 to 14, right? So they're significantly more armor piercing. But the thing is, these guys here will actually dish out less damage because that number is per entity, right? So these guys here will dish out 46 damage times 60, depending on, of course, your unit scale. And this one here will dish out 65 times 24. So it's actually got significantly less damage output, but it does have Apocalyptic Charge. Right, so this one here gives it 20% extra charge bonus and charge speed in an effect range in an area. Honestly, I think that is worse than the original. It's got less health, less entities. Sometimes less entities can be helpful, but it does fire attack as well. I guess that's something. It depends on what you're going up against. Fire attack can really be hit and miss. You know, you go up against something with fire resistance, and it'll actually hurt it more than help. And typically speaking, there are a lot more units with fire resistance than fire weakness, and those with fire weakness aren't usually that particularly weak against fire. I know in Warhammer 3 as well that fire helps to reduce healing, but only by half. Typically speaking, the AI doesn't make a whole lot of use of healing unless you're going up against vampire accounts. So like I said, it's very situational. But yeah, its overall damage output is significantly less, and Apocalyptic Charge, you know, it helps, I guess, if it's leading the charge of something and providing. It's only a small effect range though, and it's an active ability. You gotta click it. You gotta remember to click it. And it's such a small percentage bonus, only 20%. Like even the wedge formation of the Bretonnian Knights, which I never use, is higher impact than this. So it's just not that good. I'm gonna say that the Swords of Chaos are actually worse than the original. Just a regular unit of Chaos Knights would actually be better than it. It's just not a... Basically, this is an emergency unit that you recruit when you don't have any other options. But I wouldn't put it in a standing army. It's just not worth it given what it's got. Okay, now for the Hellcannon variant, we've got... Let's see here, where is it? Artillery. The Soul of Damnation. Now, funny thing is that Norska has a Regiment of Renown Hellcannon as well, but they don't have Hellcannons in their roster. But yeah, the Warriors of Chaos Regiment of Renown can't go over to Norska, and the Norskan Regiment of Renown can't go over to the Warriors of Chaos in custom battles or campaign. I just found that interesting. So let's have a look at what the difference is here between these two. So it's only one piece of artillery. See, the Norskan one has 4 pieces of artillery. Like, that Ice Force Legion is really bloody good. But maybe we'll cover Norska another time. So it has 15 extra shots. That's a big deal. That's a lot of extra ammo. So that's a lot of extra output. In terms of its ability, it's also got Soul Devourer here. So you can use this once and it increases its reload speed. So it just shoots faster. So that'll not only give it more ammunition, but more damage output, you know, per second, I suppose. Same abilities over here. And that's about it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for sure. Definitely not far superior than the original. So that's going to go under, I think, better than the original there. Yeah, definitely just better. Because extra ammunition definitely helps. Especially in a siege situation where you're probably going to use up all your ammunition. So yeah, good Regiment of Renown there. Now we're going to talk about the Champions of Chaos DLC ones. Okay. Starting with the Severed Claw. Which is a cinch-aligned aspiring champion. So we have to... Oh, we can't Oh, okay, we can't actually assign this over to Zinch. Okay, that's interesting. Alright, so let's have a look at the difference here. Okay. So, the regular aspiring champions have more health, but these guys here have got barrier. Okay, so that actually means that they do have more health. Like, if we have a look at it, they've essentially got 200 more hit points, except they can regenerate that 1,000 barrier. And trust me, getting through that barrier there can be quite a pain. So I'm going to say that it does actually have kind of more health, right? These ones here have shields. These ones here don't, right? That one here's got 10 leadership. Oh, hang on. I haven't done this. There we go. Same leadership. Alright, there is a 10 melee attack difference. These ones here actually have 10 melee attack higher than the Severed Claw. Right? They've, so the regular aspiring champions actually have overall better stats. They got higher melee defense, higher weapon strength, higher charge bonus, right? So what is it that makes the Severed Claw good or bad, I suppose? Well, it comes down to bonus versus large. This is a massive anti-large weapon. Now, there's no anti-large variant for aspiring champions to compare it with. So you got bonus versus large plus 30. And you've also got 60 armor piercing damage as opposed to 28 armor piercing damage. So even though these ones here... Okay, so basically it comes down to this. If you're going up against an armored opponent or a large opponent, the Severed Claw are vastly superior to an aspiring champion. But if you're going up against something that isn't particularly armored, then maybe regular aspiring champions would be better. Another thing to keep in mind in terms of campaign, that aspiring champions, especially with Archaon, can be boosted like absolutely crazy. Now, I've gone up against the Severed Claw with large units, and let me tell you, they fuck hard. They really hit like a truck. Basically, if you've got large units, keep them away from the Severed Claw. You want to shoot these guys as much as possible because they are very bloody dangerous. Way more dangerous than regular aspiring champions. But the potential for regular aspiring champions does kind of exceed the Severed Claw. Now, I'm not entirely sure, though, if the Severed Claw, as a Regiment of Renown, get access to all the bonuses that you can get through the tech tree. Which reminds me as well, you can get barrier on regular aspiring champions. So, I really like the Severed Claw aspiring champions, for sure, as a Regiment of Renown. But it is kind of weird that the regular units, I think, can kind of be better than them. So I'm going to put this one as same as the original, just because it just gets really bloody weird, the comparison. Because, honestly, this unit here can be worse than the original, or far superior to the original. It all just depends on the situation. So I'm just going to put it as same as the original, but it is a really good Regiment of Renown. It's just that it's a good... It's a same as the original of a unit that has a lot of potential in the first place. That's all. You know, so a bit of a weird one, that one. Alright, now for the Khorne one. The Knights of the Brazen Throne, which are Skull Crushers of Khorne, which they can get access to. Okay, so let's have a look at the difference between these two. So the Regiment of Renown variant has flaming attacks. Exact same stats. I will once again have a look at the breakdown. Oh, hang on. This one here is anti-infantry, and this one's anti-large. Okay, so that's the difference. We'll have a look at the difference, though. 1945-10 compared to 1945-10. So one's anti-infantry, one's anti-large. Fair enough. Right, because typically speaking, for Khorne, they have the Blood Crushers that were anti-infantry, but the Skull Crushers are for anti-large. But the Warriors of Chaos don't get access to the Blood Crushers. So you've also got Murderous Charge here, which is always enabled, it seems. It's not always enabled, it triggers, but needs a bit of a recharge after going into melee for, I'm actually not sure how long it needs to be in melee to recharge it. It says the cooldown's 30 seconds, so I'm assuming that would be 30 seconds. Increases their mass charge bonus, charge speeds, and acceleration. I think the main benefit there is the mass, because that allows you to really knock units pretty far back. Obviously the charge bonus and charge speed is good as well. What are other differences? Same spell resistance. They also cause terror, which again I don't value that highly, but for a shock unit, I guess that is quite good. Okay, so I guess it really comes down to, it's not a superior unit necessarily, it is just a different unit with a very strong charge. So I'm going to put that one there as slightly better than the original. Okay, and then we've got the Slaanesh ones over here, which are Chaos Chariots, which are marked of Slaanesh. Alright, let's compare these. So, the regular Chaos Chariots are 17 slots. This one here is 17 speed higher than the regular ones. And then there's also a bunch of other stuff here. So, they're all both immune to psychology. It's got Vanguard deploy, it causes fear, and also has Soul Hunters here. Yeah, Soul Hunters, which with each kill it makes, it can get up to 22% damage resistance, up to 16 leadership, and extra 10 lead charge bonus. So that's pretty good, and these units here can inflict a lot of damage for sure. Get a lot of kills in there. So let's have a look at the breakdown. 29, 11, 18 compared to 29, 11, 18. Yes, it's exactly the same. So what it really comes down to is it's a faster chariot that causes fear and that gets stronger as long as it actually gets those kills. Yeah, because they've both got the Mark of Slaanesh and Devastating Flanker there. So, where would I rank that? I think that's a pretty good Regiment of Renown. Probably just better than the original. None of them I really think are far superior to the original in this so far. And then we've got a Giant. Okay, now, a Giant, this is a unit that starts at a really low rank as far as I'm concerned, because I hate Giants, right? I really think they're crap. Many of you guys will know that. So, we can't Nurgle align this Giant here, so we can only compare it to the Undivided Chaos Giant. Let's have a look at the difference. So it has 1,262 extra health. That's definitely good for something that will probably end up taking a fair bit of damage. It is slower, because it's got the Mark of Nurgle. It has lower melee attack, but higher melee defense. So it's a more defensible version of the Chaos Giant. Okay, it has Violent Winds, which is a vortex spell that lasts 5 seconds, but has a 120-second cooldown. Yeah, it's a small vortex spell. Doesn't do a ton of damage, but it tastes better than nothing. What else does it have? It's got Wallbreaker. Okay, so regular Giant has 15% missile resistance. So does this now, right? Yeah, I know you can get more in the tech tree. At least with Hellcannon you can. And that's it. Okay, it basically comes down to a more defensible Chaos Giant that has Violent Winds. So, where would I rank that? Obviously, the loss of speed is a big problem for a Giant because Giants can't... One of their big problems is that they're so slow they can't catch up to the units that they want to kill. They're really good at killing single entities. They dish out loads of damage. Higher melee defense is definitely good, but it comes at a trade-off at lower melee attack. Okay, if you have a look at stats here, you lose 2 lots of 5 to gain 1 lot of 5. So, yeah. But you also gain a lot of hit points, right? So it's kind of like, it's just trade-offs, it's a side grade. It really comes down to the Violent Wind here. So, I'm going to say that one there is slightly better than the original, because it's just a reshuffling of stats. It's not necessarily stronger than a regular Chaos Giant, by very much. And I guess that Violent Winds would help against infantry, which is already pretty good against infantry. But its biggest weakness, of course, is being that it'll just get really easily shot down. Alright, so that's the Warriors of Chaos Regiment of Renown tier list. Some of the stuff with this is starting to get pretty damn confusing. How, like this Nurgle can recruit this one and this one, but Warriors of Chaos can't recruit their Regiment of Renown, so on and so forth. And you've got some Regiment of Renown that's available in custom battles, but it's not available in campaign. So I have to double check and cross-reference and all this kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's good for gameplay, but it makes doing these Regiments of Renown tier lists a little bit more tricky, which is why I wanted to wait until after early access before doing this particular Regiment of Renown tier list. Anyway, that's the tier list there. I'm sure that there's going to be a fair bit of discussion about where to put all these. I fully expect a lot of people will disagree, because I think a lot of this really does come down to interpretation. It's subjective interpretation about how you would use them. Like, for example, with this one here, that's the one I'd probably question the most, because I actually think that it's a really good Regiment of Renown. It's just that it's just so situational. You know, there are some situations where it's just not better than the original, and the original can be so good, you know. So you could argue it's there, and I would possibly agree with your reasoning, but you could also argue down here, and I would also agree with those reasonings. So that's why I've just put it at same as the original, because it just comes down to how you use it. Whereas, for example, the Poison Wind Mortar from the Skaven is just vastly better in every situation than the original, because it's just way better at dishing out damage, and that's exactly what it's there for. It's no better at taking out single entities, and it's just way better at killing loads of infantry, so it gets far superior to the original. But depending on subjective things like how you use various units, you know, you can put them in various different spots. But anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think, whether you agree or disagree. Don't forget to check out Instant Gaming if you're looking to pick up some DLC, not just for Total War Warhammer, but for other games as well. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time, fuckers.